Okay. With that being said, we were talking last for our break about free guides. What would I do for a free guide? You give Jason his with the loom and all that.
Yeah,
What would
Jason's
I
going to
do?
go implement that. I think your coaches should implement that, to be honest. Like, I think they should all pick 3 to 5 people and do that. Like I said, I do think these nutrition audits are really freaking helpful. Like, or auditing somebody's grocery list or something like that. You can phrase it however you want. But if somebody's primary goal working with you would be general overall well-being, feeling better playing with their kids outside, losing some of the gut, whatever the hell it is, like I would say, okay, where are they falling short? And if you could give them that first step that would make them more successful when they pay you, what would that be? That's how I think of free guides. And that's why I said the MSQ for you, because they would already be aware of their problem. So when it comes down to tell them it's X dollars a month, they're already sold because they know that you've got them covered. So for you, it's like, what is that problem that you could solve that would make them very self-aware that Jeff's my guy? I clearly have a problem.
Absolutely. Okay, that makes sense. Now, besides the free guides, we have that. When does a newsletter come into play? Is this even a strategy that we do?
newsletters.
Okay. Why do you hate newsletters? Like, this is all new. I feel like I'm burning my whole business career on fire at this point.
I'll be honest with you. I like the newsletter.
I like the newsletter
we do
too.
well
That's
with
not
it.
me saying you don't have to do them. I
We
just
do well with
personally
it.
don't like them.
Yeah.
So if you have a team or an audience, it's like they love them, like you really have enough monthly updates. I love that. So I just don't do that. My emails are very personal, and my clients even will routinely say, this one made me cry today. Like, this one really hit me today. Like, I will send not personalized, but I'll add some Loom videos in there. I will do just things you won't see on social media that really give an insight as to me and how I run my business and inside information. And so I treat my email list very exclusively. And so they're getting updates constantly that, to me, a monthly newsletter doesn't make sense. Now, you've got coaches you're probably introducing. That's
Coaches,
different. I think that's
products
fine.
in terms of the
yeah,
hormone
like that makes
clinic,
sense.
like, yeah.
So I don't hate them. I hate them for my business. Let me rephrase. And I hate them when coaches, when I say, hey, are you sending emails? Well, yeah, we send a monthly newsletter, but that's it. Well, that's not email marketing. That's like 1 email a month, right? Like, what are you doing to nurture them throughout the week, right? So that's why I don't like the fallback on a monthly newsletter.
So is there like a specific number you should do for newsletter then? Between like 1 a week to 1 a day to 1? And obviously, I get the once a month. That seems lame to me. I don't think you really kind of get through it once a month.
Define it though, because I think you can use both of these. Because I get Taeler's, and I would call it more like an email.
Yeah.
Like it has my name because obviously your system is sophisticated enough, so it looks like she wrote it to me, and it's more of an email.
My email yesterday got me. I don't know
So
if you got it.
I had not gotten it.
Okay.
But I haven't really checked my email. It's a weekend, and I've been doing better. But so I think you could honestly have something that you have that goes out more often like that, but then still hit them with a newsletter, especially if you've got product offerings, you got all these things.
Totally.
But I do kind of like the way you do that. So how often are you doing those? It seems like once a week.
I do 3 to 4 a week. Now, you may be on a list where you're probably on a list where we don't send you Fitness Coach Academy emails. We don't send you things like that, right?
So I think it's like direct. At least it says Taeler on it, like when it comes in.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I sent an email out. One of my favorite subject lines, everyone needs to steal this from me, is the RE colon. So I sent an email yesterday, and the subject line was RE colon, your IRS tax bill. And I was like, oh no. And I'm like, oh yeah, I wrote this. So every now and then that'll be a really solid one. So I would send an email out to your list today to figure out if they're actually paying attention to you. RE colon coaching. Hey, first name. I've got a really cool opportunity and I thought of you. Reply to this email for more information and see how many people respond to that, because it looks so personalized. Mm-hmm. And you can only do this like once every 2 to 3 months because people will catch on. But that RE looks like I forwarded you something directly. And so it's like, I don't want you to miss that. Yeah. So in terms of the cadence of emails though, 3 to 4 a week is ideal. Starting out, get used to 1, at least once, because the cadence is 3 nurture, 1 pitch, 3 nurture, 1 pitch. So if you send 1 email a month, you're pitching, 4 times a year. That's not enough. So, nurturing could be promoting the podcast. Maybe you had a post that was really top performing. Maybe you go, deeper on that. Maybe you give an update on your travels or new things in business or your coaches or a client case study, whatever. But that's kind of the cadence you want to follow, so that when you do pitch or you do promote something new, they're already like warmed up and ready to go.
What do you got? I'm a one-time-a-week newsletter guy. I actually like it at this point in my career. It's something different. I've never done it before because all my stuff was always word of mouth, a lot like you, which I think brings us to a conversation of like in our coaching space, I'll have coaches who work for me who will ask me what I do to get clients. And it's a
We're going there. I'm ready.
Yeah, it's very, very foreign because Jason and I came up at different times. So for me, I was in person. So I knew early on as a coach that if I just trained people and didn't give them nutrition, they wouldn't get good results. So I paired nutritional. So I was one of the only ones early on that did that. Jason had a model. His was online. Mine was personal. We grew ours through word of mouth. We just got results, full books. I think if you and I were to throw Jason and I into this new world and say go build a business, him and I would just keep like running into each other and then go run into a wall and then run back at each other because
it'd be very difficult.
It would be very difficult. And oftentimes when we get coaches who want to work with us, I don't have a team anymore. I'm better solo, working with people who contract underneath me. Jason's got a different setup than what I do. But when I was working with them, and I think Jason could agree with this, they're like, well, how do you do it? I'm like, don't compare it to how I do it because it's going to not help you succeed and do good in business because it was a different time, different age. So
also, not only a different time, but I think once you have your name established, I mean, let's talk about this too. Once someone is established, do you think as we're talking about these things, do they still have to get into their DMs as much?
I just asked my mentor this question. I said I was comparing where I was at to another big name in the industry. I mentioned this the other day, and that's
who I have to do what you have to do to generate.
And I said, at what time did they leave the DMs? Because I knew that because they teach it in their program.
Okay.
So I said, at what point did these business owners leave? And he said, 2.53 mil.
Okay.
I said, okay, that makes sense because it's not me and my DMs today is not how it was years ago. I'm not sourcing anymore. I'm not updating the lead tracker. I have a team that does that. Like my setters do that. However, every morning and like maybe for 20 minutes at night, I go in and send some voice memos just because I never want somebody to not have the personal touch for me. Number one. Number two, I need to know how my team is performing. Like I need to see what leads are coming in and I do build those connections. There's not anyone that ever enters working with me where I haven't talked to them. Now, if it is somebody that's a private client or in my mastermind, the second that my team identifies one of those higher levels, it is never them, it is always me. So that's the distinction. Like no one's getting into my program at a high level if I didn't talk to them, right? So, at the end of the day, if you're trying to close deals and if you're trying to scale to 100K, 500K, whatever months, you need more volume and you've got to grow a sales team and you have to get in the DMs. Like that has to keep moving constantly. And there's an art to it. And the hardest part with the DMs is not the sourcing and finding people. It's the resparking and making sure that if you reached out to 30 people yesterday, you touch base with them 48 hours later. And that's where the team comes into play. That volume's not going to happen solo. But I dialed in a very specific daily, weekly, and monthly workflow so that I wouldn't lose track of my leads. And that's where the messy action has to transfer into a little bit of strategy, has to like translate rather to that, because I think people just DM forever and they're like, I don't know where anyone's at. Okay, well, are you tracking your leads? Like, do you have a system for that?
So in your opinion, if you're a solo coach, even at 30K, you think they still generally have to be in the DMs?
So offer maturity is defined as 100K months in one offer.
Okay.
If your offer is not making 6 figures per month, it's not mature. I think that people just assume they hit a wall, and that's exactly why the biggest sticking point you will hit if you're trying to scale to 7 figures is around that 20, 30K mark, because you feel like you've mastered sales. And so then you kind of like dip a little bit in your efforts because you're trying to focus on this over here, and then you spend more money on this over here and you're like, oh shit, where are my sales at? So that's why it's so hard, because you have to maintain the same level of intensity while you're gaining more utility, right? And if you don't gain that utility and you lose the only way to make money, which is your sales, you're not going to scale and you're going to feel like everything's falling apart. Absolutely. I think that 30K a month is where you need to get a setter for 48 hours a day in your DMs, Absolutely.
So settings going through the DMs and just chatting with people, building the rapport.
They are
turning the cold relationship warm.
Yep.
So they have access to an account then?
They act like you in your DMs.
Okay.
They literally are you in your DMs.
How do you teach someone to do that? Did you send them like looms? Like, here's how I talk and like.
Yeah,
just-
so I actually place setters for my clients. It's like a business I don't talk about because it's not for public. So, because it was
that's actually smart because I actually got someone who said that they would do that if I worked with an influencer. I was like, huh, what? And
interesting.
yeah.
But long story short, I've kind of got a few things that they fill out. So the first one is like a personality questionnaire. So, everything about you, emojis you use, things like that, just like offers, whatever. And then I have objection handling videos that you create. So if people commonly say like, I've already had 7 business coaches, here's how I would handle that. Or if they have this problem, here are the 5 podcasts I would send to them. So you kind of just train them that way. And then essentially I have them nest for 2 full weeks, meaning they're logged in, but they're stalking what I'm doing for 2 full weeks, analyzing my hottest conversations, all of that. And then once they feel good, I just put them in there.
Wow.
Yeah. No, this sounds like a very whole nother level that I'm just like, I'm like over here like, can you tell us what an offer might look like that someone's trying to pitch out there when you're talking about this DM stuff? Like, offer, we hear that in sales, like my coaching, join my mastery for whatever.
Yeah.
What might that look like? Should someone hit, because you'll see offers like join my mastery, 6 months, $10,000. I'm like, well, that's a very high number for your first time with Mr. 400 followers or whatever. And then you see some that are like $9.99, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe that's too low. Is there like sweet spots? How do you advise any of that?
What are we talking about for the offer though? Like, is this coaching?
Yeah,
Is
it
it?
could just be coaching. That's
Just be
your
coaching
offer.
in this example.
Well, that's just your
Yeah.
rate. Like, what do you charge?
This is where I am a little bit different than I think other business coaches out there, because I will get. I joke that I'm the rehab coach sometimes. Like, they've already hired other coaches and they're like, I'm the last ditch effort before they give up on their business.
Sid said the same thing to us. He goes, I'm the last ditch. Yeah, about nutrition.
Yeah, and
her saying
so
it's funny. I
It's
can relate.
very true. And they've been taught to sell like $800 a month, $1,000 a month coaching, but they're not confident in their fulfillment yet, right? So I don't really care what the price is, but if your retention is not even industry standard, which is 9 months, like if you can't even keep a client for 9 months, like you really don't need to be charging that because you're still figuring out what your framework is. So I recommend $250 on the low end, $500 on the high end when you're still building to 6 figures. Now, if you're trying to get cash up front, then just charge the first month and last month up front and make your first month higher. So they're constantly 1 month ahead of payments, and that's also really great security for you as you're stacking recurring revenue. I also don't preach pay in fulls, right? Now I understand if you have a lot of bills or whatever. In my opinion, if your revenue, and again, I know this is all case by case, but if more than 20% is coming from PIFs, you have a very false sense of security.
I agreed. So I worked the gym industry.
Yep.
They taught us that. That 5.5 years I spent learning my chops was spent in the corporate gym. There was 80-20. So they had to hit 20% of PIF a year, a month, and their goal, and 80% of residual. They're like, look, PIF allows you to aggressively grow your company, acquire the residual, the return every month, reoccurring, keeps the lights on. And that's how I always refer to it in business. And that's how it always stuck with me. That's really good you say it. Now, I have a question for you. This is going to be probably where you get the best sound clips. The business space in COVID went wild. Everyone was qualified to be a business coach. Everyone was qualified to be a personal trainer. Everyone was qualified to be a guitar teacher. You name it. Everyone was like qualified to do it. Yeah, like, no, I'm just saying you can do whatever. I've had my fair share of business coaches out there. Okay. I've talked to them all. I was in groups and different things like that. And someone's listening to this in a very noisy marketplace. Why would someone want to listen to the advice that you're saying? What makes you different? You said you're the rehab. Like what makes you stand out? Like what strategies, what does all this mean for someone who's like listening and is like, I need that girl.
Yeah,
as opposed to this person over there.
There may be somebody that exists, but I'm somebody that I don't follow other business coaches. I really keep my blinders on to make sure that anything I create can never be tied back to like seeing something else and doing something else. But I have yet to see somebody who is your first and last coach. So somebody who can quite literally take you from day one client to your first 7-figure year. And that is why my framework is like a 4-year framework, right? Which sounds like a long time. I don't sell 4-year contracts, but I don't see anyone that's getting as in depth as what I'm doing at the level that I'm doing it. I know that people are working with 8-figure, 9-figure business owners at the level that I am. But when you work with me at a private capacity, I'm now a consultant for you. You're getting access to my team, my operator, my sales management, all of that. You're getting all of my resources, all of my back end. And then even day one, I do a private kickoff call with every single new client, right? There's no other business coaching course out there that's doing that. The problem is they've got 25 support coaches, and there's nothing wrong with that. I love my account managers, but they're getting different information from different ones. So like when you join Fitness Coach Academy day one, you have an assigned account manager that's going to follow you the whole way through. And I am literally reviewing your homework every single day. Once you graduate there, you work with me at a little bit of a higher capacity and you scale with me all the way to a private client. Like I don't see that start to finish, because what happened to me, the reason I did this, and that wasn't even the selling point, is I would reach a level in business and I would think, I outgrew this coach. And then it happened again. And then I finally found a mentor that I was like, I'm not going to outgrow this person. But I kept outgrowing my fucking coaches and it drove me nuts. Yeah. And a lot of these other courses and coaching cohorts out there, there's no next level for them. So
I agree with that. The other thing that I found to be offensive, watching people do the same program 6-7 times.
That's confusing.
Over and over. It's like, how did you not get it the first time? I can understand maybe a second pass. Like maybe at that point when you committed, you weren't really as committed as you thought. And then you had to like really go get your
I think it
face
helps
kicked
to hear
in.
everything a second time. After you've already
I don't disagree.
After
That's
you've
what I'm
already
saying.
used the info a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But then like when you're seeing people go through these business classes,
I get
and
what
they're
you're
like
saying,
the
though.
fifth is, I'm like, why would you need that the fifth and sixth time?
Yeah, it's like, well, at that point, and this is going to lead to my question. The market's super saturated, right? And I know you're very good at what you do, but there are people that just go through and aren't successful, just like they come through mine. And I know how to fix a person. And what qualities do you know you can almost look at someone and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be able to take this person 7 figures, or this is just the baseline what you need? Because like if you don't have, if there's certain qualities that someone needs and you know this isn't you, then you're probably in the wrong market. Like what's gonna make someone successful? What are the qualities?
I start to learn that when I'm DMing them, to be honest. So before I ever pitch my offer, I make sure that somebody has taken action twice.
Okay.
So I will give them a podcast and I'll be like, oh, this was great, whatever. Cool. What did you listen? What are you implementing in the next 48 hours? Then they'll tell me. Then I'll follow up and make sure they did it. And the ones that literally will send me a screenshot of their checklist or tell me they got a sale before they, like, that's when I know. It's the people that take action before we start.
That's slick. She's screening them early, but you're also nurturing it while you're screening. That's going to make you more successful, but also now they're bought into you.
If I can link them taking action to Taeler, they're in for life, right?
See, that's a much easier for me. Sorry, I keep interrupting. I don't mean, but I want to point this out to the audience.
Yeah.
That's a much easier strategy for me in a DM than like, hi, like, I don't know. Like it's much easier for me to just start at like teaching you like right away. And if you take some of that, because I do the same thing, like people who read extra books from my course, they're like, oh, I saw this word, now I'm doing this. Those are the ones who usually end up hiring.
Absolutely.
So go back to your door. I apologize, but I thought it was important to point those out.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm at the point now where when people are joining Fitness Coach Academy, the ones that I know are going to succeed, they're like, my goal is to kick ass here and join Path to 4%, which is my mastermind. Like we're getting enough traction because I've recently changed my model where you have to go through FCA to join Path to 4%. We're not taking stray cats anymore, which is what I call them, because we're getting people that are influencers or they had all these referrals and maybe they're making 20K months. But they don't know how to sell their offer because they've never sold it to a cold person. And so there's no sales funnel. And it's like, I get that you're making money, but you've got to learn the foundations. And so people that are coming through have a higher success rate every time. So, yeah, that's what I do. I mean, that's how I pre-qualify. I think that's a really, really key point, however you want to pre-qualify them. But the DMs already do that.
That shows some follow through and an ability to be coached. But what else is there anything else that you know that someone has to have?
I mean, aside from like, I'm trying not to give you the cliche answers. Like, obviously you have to follow through and do your shit. But, you know, we have like an immediate checklist. Like there's like 7 or 8 things you have to do when you first join FCA. And anyone that takes longer than 72 hours to do that, I'm already like red flagging them on our back end. So we are tracking everyone as on track, at risk, or off track. And based on my account managers, I can see which account manager has a higher performing team, so to speak. So we're catching people very fast in the first 7 days if we think somebody is off track. So, I mean, I don't know if there's like one exact thing, but for me, it's I
said it was a quality.
It's the involvement, I think.
Okay.
It's really the involvement. Like there are people that are like, the people that say, I'll do anything it takes, red flag. I swear it's a red flag. Every time somebody's like, I will do whatever it takes, they're the first ones that default. They're the first ones that like don't show up. It's weird. It's like, I don't know why that's a thing.
It's like a cliche sentence they hear and they want to be that person, but they're not.
But it's truly the
this
people.
Time I'm going to be that person.
Yeah, it's always the people that are like, hey, Taeler, after that one podcast, I actually listened to 5 more. Like it's those people who are reaching out to me first. And then once they get into the program, they're asking specific questions, right? And it doesn't come back to, why am I not landing sales? It's, hey, my sourcing seems off. Can you audit me here? Like understanding how to ask questions is so freaking important, because if you ask a vague question about a result, so why am I not landing sales, for example? Well, the sale is a result. A sale is a result of things you're doing. It's not why you're not landing sales. It's what's broken in the sales process. Oh, well, I'm only finding 4 people a day to talk to. Great. Response rate is 10% on average. What's 10% of 4? Not even 1 person. Got it. We have no shot in hell. We have no shot in hell of this working. So I teach my clients very early, like what KPIs they need to track so that we can always come back to data, not emotion.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, so to me, it sounds like execution is extremely important.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I also think personality too, man.
That's above and beyond.
Like, because
okay, we can go that way. I'm ready.
I also think that too, because we've been around a little bit, and there's just some, man, it's almost like a wrestling. I've gotten into wrestling because of my kid. I used to love wrestling anyway. But you watch some of the wrestlers, the ones who do the best have like these personalities, these characters that are larger than life. And a lot of my favorite people I've met in the social media world that we coach with have been some of the best personalities that I can think of. Yeah. How much do you think that plays a game into that? Because I think really
some people have it, some people don't.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, some people have the it factor.
Yeah. We already know that, yeah.
And there are some people that have to work harder to overcome that. I mean, when I was in TV, I will never forget the day we would do these brutal audits. So I was already on an NBC station at the age of 19. That's why Mizzou is like very highly ranked. They just throw you on TV. And so my professor would literally put a box of tissue out and he would like audit all of our live shots. And some of the people he would flat out say like, your teeth can't look like that. Like you've got to do radio. Like pick something else, like brutally honest, because it's true. It's fucking true. You know what I mean? And I don't know if I'll get hate for this, but I feel like I'm in the right room for this. If you don't look like you're a coach, we should probably look at that, because you're literally a walking billboard. Yeah. You don't have to be jacked or whatever, but like if you're not practicing what you preach, like what are you doing?
You gotta at least be like, if you're seen in public, eating the right foods. If you're a healthy,
you know what I mean, though. Like, and I'm sure somebody's gonna be like, "Oh, healthy in every size." Like, I don't agree with that either. Like, no, you're not. Like, so that's a whole other can of worms. But I really do think, yes, you have to have the right personality, and I think that takes time to develop. I think some people are very introverted, and it takes them a little bit of time to come out of their shell. But like I said, if people do not like you, people will invest in you before your offer every time. Every time. No one's like, damn, Jason has weekly check-ins. That's the one. No, it's like they like Jason and the way he is, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
We both agree. And I wasn't saying execution's the only thing. I was narrowing it down.
Yeah. It's a huge component.
To be successful, it's one of the big things that she's seeing, is all I was saying. Personality, we know that. I mean, we've had conversations about, you know, hey, can we add this coach? Do we think they're going to, you know, it's a personality thing sometimes, you know?
Yeah, and it's got to be relatable. I always tell coaches this, like, if you haven't walked through the fire yourself in regards to anything, like, how are you ever going to coach that person through that fire? Mm-hmm. It's like why I don't like do stuff in business, because my business is unfolded very differently than other people. Like when you talk about this basic
but you can
model,
have that.
I'm like, I could probably do well by adopting your basic model because I've never done it.
Yeah.
Jason probably could too. Yeah. Because no one's ever seen it. So this is when those episodes that people go, all right, well, where's the takeaways? Well, you just heard from a person who's been doing it 19 years. I could go back right to the beginning, and because I've never done it, I could easily go do my 10 people online and then start having my conversations.
I mean, and
just some of
literally
your strategies were very brilliant.
Instagram, like this is also something that's newer in the last year is if you open up Instagram and you open up a message, like if everybody right now goes to DM their friend, at the top right corner, you're going to see something that looks like a tag. It's like a tag on a shirt or something. If you click that, you're going to see multiple options for how you can tag conversations. So one's like lead, flag, booked, paid, whatever.
And this is on the professional side, business side, right? Like you'd have to.
It's either creator or business,
Okay,
but if
cool.
you have to have both. Yeah, I mean, we have to have one or the other. But my point is, you can filter by whatever. So, for example, if somebody comes in from an ad, or we've qualified them as a potential candidate, we put lead. So the first thing that I do every day is I filter by lead, and I touch base with all of those people. Filter by flag, that means they're warming up. Filter by booked, they've got a call booked. I need to stay on them. So it's like there's ways to make it easier for you. And then my setter is the one that's keeping tabs of that on a physical tracker, like data wise, right? And so we're constantly updating that. And then when somebody when somebody pays, they get moved over to the primary side and I follow them. I do not follow anyone that's not my client.
Fair. I'm going to save paid ads then for our next one we're doing on Sales and Scales because, okay, now that being said, why don't you follow anyone who's not your client? Is this
Because I don't want to.
Curation of the algorithm? Like
No, I really stalk my clients' work. Seriously. Like I want to see what their stories are. I want to see what they're doing. I don't want to see random coaches on the internet. I really don't. I follow my friends and things like that, but
I get that. Like I'll follow and be like, all right, you're my friend.
And I don't have a personal Instagram. So, but it was a few years ago, we used to DM follow. And I was like, I follow more people than I have following me. And I was like, who are all these coaches that like never bought anything? And then I wasn't even seeing what I wanted to on my feed, which is my client. So I can spot check them.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So I don't recommend that. Some coaches will tell you the total opposite and that's fine, but not my style.
What questions do you have? Or do you have anything you want to talk about to close this one up that we might not have discussed in this one?
I do have one other thing
Yeah.
to discuss. So some things that I see with my team is like some of my assistant coaches is kind of this pool where they still want to be like influencers, and it's all these pictures about themselves and, all the glamour, nice shot, you know what I mean? And so when you go look at an influencer's page, like it's all them, like, right? And when you go look at my page, it's mostly all my clients or some info or something going on. I feel like mine is a resume for what I can do. Like if you're an influencer, maybe you're trying to make money because someone pays you to wear a piece of clothing. But I don't feel like that type of where you're posting most of yourself is really going to sell. Like I don't feel like Susie Homemaker wants to see a picture of your butt in a thong a ton of times. So, but I'm also wondering, how can you blend that? Or do you think there isn't really a shot that shouldn't be blended? I'm curious because this goes back and forth and we talk about this a lot within my team.
It is here, Brittle to Unbreakable, my life story, an autobiography that can't resist being a self-help book. BrittleToUnbreakable.com. In it, you're going to find probably the most raw journaling session, as my good friend Jason Theobald says about the book. I chronicalized my life with a brittle bone disease known as osteogenesis imperfecta and culminated how I got into bodybuilding through being bullied and later on steroid use and ultimately modern medicine not wanting to wipe away the stain of suicide I had on my soul. And it led me to find psychedelics to find ultimate relief. I have an honest conversation here, BrittleToUnbreakable.com. And if you'd like some health and fitness coaching, I kind of do that too.
I'm Taeler Haes, and I am here helping you scale your business all the way from getting your first 10 clients to getting off the gym floor all the way to your first 7 figures. If you have any questions about that or want to learn more about me, you can find me on Instagram at TaelerFit. That's TaelerFit.
Hey, I'm Jason Theobald, functional health coach. I own ScoobyHealth.com. We have a group group of about 13 very educated coaches that can help you out with your functional health journey. I also own advancedvitalityhrt.com. And this is a clinic with full service for all your HRT and anti-aging needs. Also, check us out at nevethics.com. I'm a co-founder of that supplement company. Thank you.
There is a way to combine the influencer with selling. So your example of like, Susie Homemaker doesn't want to see ass shots. Here's the thing. If you're showing ass shots, then you're probably targeting the women that are also wanting to show ass shots, right? Like they're wanting that.
Fair.
However, I've got tons of clients I've worked with that are making money with like Paragon, other athletic wear, things like that, try on haul videos. They're not making money with like their body, but they've gained popularity. And when they make a hard pivot to everything educational, their audience is like, I don't want this. So I recommend continuing that influencer style content, but doing more day in the life vlogs or reels or things like that. So they're still giving the people what they want, but I don't think it's a hard pivot. Like I think that if you've got a client or an assistant coach who's struggling, it's really like, okay, cool. What pieces of content did your audience like the most?
Yeah.
Was it just professional photos? Because for me, I don't see that as much. I see everyone loves my try-on hauls. Everyone loves my supplement reviews. But then when I post about eating more or whatever, no one likes it. Well, you haven't trained your audience for that. And that's where I also say there has to be some kind of outbound DMing, because when I pivoted from fitness coaching to business, I went from like lose weight to make 5K. And I went hard. Like it was like literally a flip. And I pitched for 90 days in a row before anyone bought my business coaching. Literally, I was about to give up. I remember telling my mentor at the time, like, are you sure I can do this? Because I don't know. It felt really hard.
Yeah.
But no one wanted to hear me talk about money. And I lost a lot of followers doing that too. But I also gained followers who wanted to be there.
Yeah.
So I didn't really care. So I think there is a balance, but I think that's very case by case with what their influencer content is.
So they don't have to give it up.
No.
Just blend it together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
And I think doubling down on the content too. So like if they're already doing 2 posts a day, then they need to do 3 posts a day where 2 posts are influencer and 1 post is like a new you know what I mean? Like don't do less, just add volume.
Yeah, I did one recently when I went to the grocery store, and a lot of people are like, it's so nice to see you do it, like, because I hadn't for a long time done anything different. So I was like, you got transformation, you got some education, you saw the podcast I was in. And since spacing out, I've gotten more people to kind of like enjoy seeing that. So I think that's pretty cool what you're saying. So I have a question. What did we not cover that you want to cover in this? To wrap this up, clean it up, anything else? I know we got one on sales, scales, and everything else, but what on this one did we not do? I think we did a pretty good job of saying what people, I got blown away. I think if you listened to this and you were like me and thought one way of social media, you walked away going, shit, I do everything wrong, or I need to change a lot of operational things.
Or you can add to your thing.
Yeah. What would you say with that?
So I would say there's just a few like final notes. So the first thing is understand that when you're assessing your performance, wherever you're at in your business, if you're like how you're doing, whatever, day-to-day data is going to drive you nuts. Look at things on a 30-day or 90-day cycle. If you try something new out, like the DMs, maybe you heard this and you're like, I want to try this. Do it for 90 days in a row before you tell me it's not working. Because this is a long game. Everything is a long game, okay? I mean, I've been in business for 5 years, and that's not as long as you guys, but like it's a long play. So if you're trying to build generational wealth, which 99% of people will never do, only 4% of people make 7 figures, how do you stand out every single day?
Only 4% of the country have a business that makes 7 figures?
Only 4% of businesses online reach 7 figures, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So like that percentage is already low, and of those 4%, it takes 5 years. So like you've got time. Hang in there, right? If you had a 7-figure business in 5 years, I think you'd all be very excited about that. You know what I mean? Like let's all chill. So just like you're doing in your coaching business, right? If you're trying to build muscle or whatever, you're not freaking out in 7 days when you don't look jacked for stage, right? You know it takes years to develop that physique, and your business is the same way. And we have so much impatience with that. And so many of these women that I work with get so emotionally attached to outcomes, right? Like if they hear no on a sales call, they take it personal. Or if somebody bails on a payment, like you're going to have those problems. So understanding that like feel the feels, move on, but we've got to regulate emotions. And that's why I always come back to data. The more you can track, the more we have to move forward. If you don't track a damn thing, you won't know what to do.
Yeah, I saw that with a lot of the business book I read. Silicon Valley companies die when the visionary either loves the company too much, he can't get out of his own way, or can no longer see for the company in the future.
Yeah. And that leads me to my second like kind of big thing is don't get so fixated on what you want 5 years to look like from now. Really focus on 6 months from now. That's it. 6 months. If you are already running a 6-figure business, look 1 year into the future. That's it. Who's the next hire? What's the next investment? And finally, the only fast trick to scale or whatever, if there is anything, is literally investing in knowledge you don't have. Every problem you don't know, literally figure it out. Right? Like get somebody to do it. There is not a single person in this room that doesn't have a mentor or multiple or has or whatever. Right? And I think it's really important. I don't care who the hell it is, but you will save so much time and energy, especially overthinking constantly, right? And maybe that's not a business mentor. Maybe it's like something else, but whatever it is, like get some support. And with that being said too, don't just constantly invest in course after course for skill set, right?
Success on these suck, man.
Yes,
just keep
because
going. Oh, yeah.
You know, I have seen so many people take, you know, whether it's Jason's course or they've taken Jason's and then, you know, multiple after that, and they still have, you know, one client because they just can't act. So get somebody in the door, get support, regulate emotions, track your fucking data. Like that's it. I just think it's a long play. Really, I think it's a long play.
I'm over here like I want to hire someone to like do my DMs for me and then like just film a bunch of looms. Like this is how I want you to handle, become Jeff Black. No, I think it's a brilliant strategy actually. Like I've never really thought about any of this because I think it's because my mind's so wrapped around the idea of when we came up in social media, what it was versus what it's become.
No one's doing outbound, and
I agree. I don't think anybody is.
And no one's teaching outbound. So all of the the sales gurus are doing placements, and that was the thing too. Like I try to have like you asked why I was different earlier. I try to have an all-inclusive coaching container. Oh, you need a setter? I got you. You need an operator? I can connect you. You need an all-in-one CRM? I got you. Like everything is very inclusive. There's never an issue of where or how. I even do like interviews for team members for my clients, right? And so the DM thing is interesting because I think one day I will make that a public offer. I'm just not wanting that right now, but it's so true. Like people need more volume in the DMs. And if you're not an influencer or somebody like you guys, you're not getting a bunch of inbound traffic. So sure, you can teach somebody that skill and you do need to know the basics, obviously, to be yourself and sell your offer. But that's just something where placement fees are so high out there. And I just wanted to eliminate it.
I agree. I think that's 100% spot on.
Yeah.
It's in the business world. There's a lot of noise, and I think what you did is you cleared up a lot of things for me from based on the classes I've done or things.
And I think that's what she does for her.
No, I think that's great.
People as well,
that's
right? I mean, you know, when I was building my business, it was the wild, wild west of coaching, right? I mean, there wasn't a ton around. We didn't know that many people really making a true living at it. And if I had to do it today, I know the way I did it would not work. And I think my point in saying that is that it's more competitive than ever. And I think you got to come out of the gate organized and ready to roll. And I think, you know, having a business mentor is important for the climate that we're in terms of how many coaches there are. You have to look the part, know the part, and set those foundations quickly.
I'll be honest with you. That's the thing that's been lacking for me in my career the last few years is a business mentor. Like I kind of got to the point with people, they've been like, I feel like I can't help you anymore. And so I sat in this spot of like, and it comes back to where I really want to go. Because the
that's important, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Because where do I really want to go?
And that might come up in the next segment. Like,
Yeah.
you know, not everyone wants to be 10 million,
Sales
20
and
million, or,
scales
you
and
know,
stuff like that. But there's also part of me where I'm a very competitive person by nature.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
maybe I do want this.
Well,
maybe I do want 4 gyms.
Well, it's not so much I want the gyms. I enjoy the coaching aspect more. And sometimes when I hear about like the things I don't do, I go, wow, man, there's so much potential I have in my business that I just haven't fucking tapped because I just didn't try.
You have a brand. Yeah. You have a look, and people will follow you because of your brand. If you wanted to build your online coaching, you could certainly easily.
No, I just hear all this stuff. And I'm like, there's so much potential. And all we ever hear is scarcity. So much scarcity. So much. It's so red ocean out there. I can't find a blue ocean. I'm over here like, she's telling me stuff that everyone should be doing in their business. So I'm like, well, I've never done that. And surely if we've never done it, there's other people who've never done it. And it's like, well, damn, you could go get a whole bunch of people right there and not have to worry about what you're doing come Q4 when everyone's in restriction season. That's because that's separation season, Q4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Speaking of the scarcity, and just like one final note is, I see so many coaches get so caught up in looking at the gurus in the space, like the Hermosis and whoever else. And it's like, that's only going to set you up. Like, and by all means, like great information, all of that's great. But if you're comparing your day 30 to somebody's day like 3,000, you're not going to perform well. So the way that, you know, Hermosi does content is not the way you need to do content. Like that's not what your audience is ready for. If you're ever curious, like, oh, how are they making that per month or whatever? They have mastered the basics more than you. You literally have to make that boring shit your bitch. I mean, seriously, like you have to mimic before you master and master before you matter. If you just skip the mimicking and just try to master a skill, you're going to fail. So I think really understand that is, I'm doing the same shit I was 5 years ago. Different capacity. I've got team members now to help me, but I didn't just stop DMing when I hit a 10K month, right? I just increased volume. I dialed in things a little bit more efficiently, right? So getting really hyper fixated with that efficiency and scale and understanding that like the basics grow you.
You know, I love it. I haven't done a whole lot of, you know, DMing. But I like you, I realize that there's still like other untapped potential if in fact I want to go this level.
Well, yeah, because I need to do it for my book, and I'm like, easy way is with my coaching to get my book in more hands. Okay, so we'll save that for sales skills because I want to talk about ads. I think that's where we could get real deep into this. Yeah. Because I've recently got into SEO.
I like to
learn
hear
how
it
to
too.
program SEO. So with that being said, Taeler, Haes, thanks for joining us. See, I did not butcher it this time.
Haes, I know, it's a weird one. Thank you.